Diddy, baby oil, and drugs. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Yes, we are. Joining me to discuss, Siobhan Scott, psychotherapist and author. Yep, those are the three words that we have combined now as we continue down the dark road of the Diddy debacle. An attorney, Ariel Mitchell Kidd, coming forward with allegations from one of her clients, stating that, they believe that Diddy drugged the baby oil, possibly with something like GHB. Again, this is the allegations. While they were at the freak-off parties, it wasn't just the liquor anymore. They had to go as far as the baby oil. What was your reaction when you heard this one?
It just gets weirder and weirder, layer upon layer of this, depraved behavior, and it's just kind of revulsive. I mean, it's hard to imagine how somebody could have become this drunk on power and this depraved.
And this is, I mean, when you're talking about what would be going on here, this is not somebody, his victims anyway, where okay, they had too much to drink and their inhibitions are down and maybe they're making poor choices. If they were drugged, which we've heard much about that with Diddy had specific drinks here and there. So if that's true, you got that going on. And then the baby oil itself. So it's like if the drinks failed, if the drugged drinks failed, well, then the baby oil is going to finish the deal, it seems. I mean,
Mhm,
someone had to think of this process. Someone had to
mm,
like literally go, well, drugging him. That should take that's not enough. We
mhm.
gotta lace the baby oil with stuff. I mean, how does one go to this level of thinking of depravity of let's do that?
It really speaks to me of someone who spent a lot of time thinking about how to victimize other people, and somebody who seemed to enjoy that process of, look what I can do, look what I can get away with. And that's what I mean with the word depraved. It's just like who lives on earth and puts their energy into thinking up things like this? It's so strange.
Well, and then you got to think of okay, if you're trying to put yourself in the shoes of someone like this and assuming these accusations are true, um, you essentially have a victim here. And we've heard stories now from many of Diddy's alleged victims of saying they woke up, they didn't know what the hell happened, their clothes were off. Diddy said, "Oh, yeah, I just did this to you," or something of that nature. And they were horrified to know that. What you're talking about here is people so drugged that they're in such a catatonic state. It would be as if you were having sex. I mean, this is rape we're talking about here, but having a relation of some way, shape, or form, not consensual, with someone who's basically asleep or like they're dead.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
really fucked up. I mean, this is
Yeah,
this is beyond just they're going along with it because they're on their right mind. And this is like you have mannequins that you're having sex with,
yeah,
but they're real people. I mean, what is
yeah,
going on with that? Can you make any sense of that with the level we know about Diddy, this level of control and narcissism,
yeah.
that this would be an appealing thing to someone?
Yeah, it's actually there's a subset of people who are sex offenders. We talk about the paraphilias, which is somebody who has an abnormal sexual arousal pattern. They're attracted to things that are just so far out of the norm, we consider it a disorder.
Yeah.
And having to have intercourse with unconscious people, that is a thing. That is something that you can find online and read more about if people want to look that up. But there are people who even with their partners, they prefer to have their partner drunk and passed out or drugged, and that's their preferred way of having sex. So what does that speak to? I don't
Yeah.
know, other than the desire for absolute power and control.
Mhm.
They get this rush of adrenaline from feeling like they can completely incapacitate another person and take all control away from them.
I mean, that really is what it comes down to. It seems. I mean, maybe this is not extremely complex, but it's like we obviously know he likes power and control,
Yeah,
but all the way to that level. I mean, it's a state where I guess no one can object to anything. With him,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
that's the thing. And I guess key if you're doing really horrible things to someone's body
Yes.
that they're not going to approve of.
Yeah, I think it's power control, the desire to subjugate another person, to say, as you said, mannequins, I can pose you, I can do anything I want to you, I can humiliate you, I can film all this, I can come back and watch it later. That's a very dark, twisted mind.
Yeah, it's beyond that. I want to talk about the allegations here, and by the time we're recording this, the A-lister name has not yet been revealed by anyone. There's a lot of speculation online on who it may be. The New York Post did a very interesting piece just the other week, talking about the video. Some attorneys have seen it that's being shopped around, but there was some concern in this video about the individual, the A-lister, being victimized again, because it said that this person may also be a victim of him. And this person they were not quite sure if this person was even of age, this A-lister, at the time of the videotaping. Now, put the dots together, I think it's pretty easy to guess who this might be. My question would be, if this is someone who has also been a victim of Diddy, because if this is the person I think it is, I believe they truly have been a victim of Diddy and have been groomed most of their life. If they're caught in these videos and they are shown to be interacting with basically like this, like incapacitated people, and going along with it, uh, does an individual like that have anything to worry about with charges against them? I mean, obviously, they're going to have to take, hopefully, at some point, probably in a court, the grooming into consideration of the abuse that the
Mhm.
individual suffered to think that this is normal or healthy. But I would imagine, even if they were a victim of Diddy, even if they were groomed into this, they're still going to be facing a level of responsibility if they're found to be doing something illegal or taking advantage of another human being.
Boy, that's an interesting question. I guess it would just be up to the attorneys prosecuting
Mhm.
to determine if they think that they could win on something like that, or
Mhm.
if they would just rather say this person was a victim and let it go. I think it's going to be hard to convict somebody who's a minor, on
If they
something
were a
like that.
minor at the time,
If they were a
they're not
minor,
sure, but
yeah.
if they're not a
Mhm.
minor and they were an adult and then we're in a
Yeah,
different territory. I mean,
yeah.
it kind of, I mean, once you groom somebody, they can be a totally different human being. They can be exactly what that dark person groomed them to be.
Mhm.
And then they will carry out things that, if they didn't have that sort of influence at a very influential time in their
Mhm.
young lives, they would not have done.
Mhm.
I mean, the Menendez brothers case, things like that, where they were abused forever. They finally lashed
Yeah.
out and did what they needed to do, and that's all obviously being re-examined now. But I think we're going to find some of that here in this case with a lot of young people. Diddy did seem to try and surround himself and influence a lot of young people before they had
Mm.
much ways of the world in their head to do what they wanted to do. And I'm just wondering how harsh society is going to judge those people and the legal system.
Yeah, yeah, and certainly victims become perpetrators all the time,
Mhm.
Fortunately, not all, but it definitely can happen.
It's it's just all around very dark and shocking. Let's talk about another aspect of this case, and I'm curious to look at this from a psychological standpoint. Diddy's mom, Janice Smalls Combs, she has released a statement. Interestingly enough, not through her own attorneys or independently, but through Diddy's attorneys and directly through that law office. Basically saying this is a public lynching and these accusations aren't true and he deserves to stay in court. Does address the Cassie beating, but also kind of says we all are, I'm paraphrasing here, like we all have bad days, very downplaying it.
Mhm,
And then just kind of moves on to saying, well, because this one is out there, not all these other ones mean that they're true, despite the hundreds of accusations. What the hell do
mhm.
you think this woman is going through right now? I guess a lot of it depends how much she was aware of. But if we're assuming she didn't know and she was very insulated from the reality of what her son was doing behind the curtains, how is someone contemplating this and
It
moving
you
toward
know,
it?
Yeah, it just strikes me. We talk about denial. We've talked so much about how people can just see what's right in front of them, yet not see it. Talk about denial. And it seems like her story in life has been what a great son she has and what talent he has,
Mhm.
that he's displaying. It came from somewhere. It came from someone telling him when he was growing up that he could do no wrong and that he was wonderful and he was better than other people. And that's my guess going to be the story that she tells forever, no matter what evidence comes out to say otherwise. I don't think she's in reality at all. And that doesn't mean she's psychotic. She's
Mhm.
not delusional, but she lives with her own version of the truth. And it's very different from what objective truth is.
Well, I mean, just think of that for a second. I mean, if you're going all the way back to the early '90s. She sees her young, 20-some-year-old son coming up in the music industry, making a
Mhm.
massive name for himself, becoming one of
Mhm.
the most powerful music executives in history, one of the most wealthiest, one of the most powerful, in public, seen as, being very liked by all sorts of celebrities, philanthropist, all this. And then suddenly, boom. Turns out that was the facade, and there's something much darker happening on the other side. I don't know that anyone's mind can wrap around that. If that's your child, especially, and you've had this vision of them, and you've only seen this version of them for so long, um, to be able to take a look at that objectively and say, "Oh, maybe there is some dark stuff going on."
I don't know. He was always a jerk. I never followed the guy, but looking
Yeah,
back, decades into interviews with him, the ego, the
yeah,
narcissism, the boasting. I mean, the guy was a jerk. And I would be the first one as a mom. I've got two sons. If they were being a jerk and being narcissistic and boastful, I'd be the first one to
hmm,
knock them upside the head and say, knock it off with that nonsense. It's like that's just not a person that you admire. And
sure,
those are qualities that I think he very likely got from
hmm,
her. She fed this sense of narcissism and unearned glory and
yeah.
power. And he's a creep. He's just a creep.
The thing is with that, she was also benefiting. She was
Mhm,
benefiting extremely from the
mhm.
wealth of her son and everything that she did. So that certainly plays into it as well. It's like it makes you wonder, at what point did she stop being mom and did she just start being a beneficiary of her son's wealth and everything he did and just become a yes person, whatever, because that just
Yeah.
keeps the money flowing in.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a lot of respect for her. Not that there would be any reason I would, but certainly for her speaking out in the way that she is and in denial like this. Yeah, it just feels to me like this is where he developed this, very awful narcissistic tendency that he has. She
Yeah.
continues to feed it.
And I think probably one of the last to continue feeding it, quite honestly. What I find interesting is we haven't seen a letter from anyone else. We haven't seen even a tweet of support from any celebrity out there. Normally, you see something from somebody. It was like, oh, I forgot Charles in Charge used to be a person, and he's trying to make a statement on something. Let's
Yeah.
take him seriously.
Yeah.
But we've seen nothing. All we've seen is literally support from mom through Diddy's attorneys.
Hmm.
That's it. I mean, that's
Hmm.
like your mom is the only one standing up for you at this point.
Hmm.
And it's three. I also question how much of it's even her own words. If
Right.
it's not just we're going to release a statement through and say it's from your mom, and your mom's going to agree because she probably still wants to enjoy the coffers here while they're still in
Yeah.
existence. So who knows? I mean, who knows exactly
Yeah.
how accurate it is? But I would think in something like this, maybe being less vocal would be better because
Hmm.
I feel like the more she says, the more she's going to open herself up
Hmm.
to be brought to the stand in this
Hmm.
case. There
Mhm.
is no law saying that you have rights to not testify against your own child. There's spousal laws and rules for that.
Mhm.
Nothing like this.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, especially that it's coming through his attorneys, who's thinking this is a good idea?
Right, right. Yeah, it's probably also his idea, you
True.
know? "Let's get mom. Mom's always on
Yeah.
my side here."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just awful, and it seems to me, again, it's another case just like we had with Harvey Weinstein where things that, so many people knew about and so many people in the entertainment business knew about, but it just was everybody was keeping their mouth shut about it. And it's now that the covers are pulled back, everybody sees what's going on, and nobody wants to speak up for him.
Do you think at some point someone like this will ever be able to see the reality of what their son is, or is it just, even if he is convicted, even if he is going to jail for the rest of his life, and the evidence right now, it's allegations. If we really get it in front of us in court, which I'm sure we will, here's the facts. This is indisputable. Is this something that someone like that would ever accept, or is it just, she's going to go down at some point to her deathbed and just be unable or incapable of being able to see her son for who he is?
Yeah, I think the latter. I think if she were grounded in reality, she would have seen it a long time ago that there was something terribly wrong with this picture here with her son. And if she doesn't get it now, it's likely going to always be flipped into the victim script that he was set up or people were out to get him or people were jealous of him or whatever. And that'll probably be the story forever.
Does make you wonder, and it does beg the question: what did she know, and when did she know it, if anything? We don't know that she did. I'm not saying she did, but I believe they had, from what I understand, a fairly tight relationship. And to, I guess, be completely clueless to this,
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of things, you keep from your parents, so I get maybe she was clueless. I don't know, but
She never asked what's that room with all the baby oil in there for,
what's going on
It's
after
like,
midnight?
wouldn't you wonder? Yeah.
I mean, although, if I don't know, I'm trying to put myself there in those shoes. It's hard to even think of it, but it's like if your kid's having this party and like, oh, it gets kind of dirty after I'm going home. I don't want to know about it.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know that I would have asked more questions, quite honestly, as a parent, because I don't want to know. I don't think I would have assumed anything illegal was going on. I think I would have just maybe assumed, you guys get into some shit that I want nothing to do with, and you're my kid, so don't tell me about it.
Mm.
Not illegal, but just I don't know, kinky shit or something. But
I spoke at my son's wedding, and
yeah,
it was, my eldest son,
mhm.
and I made a point to look at his wife and say, "If he ever does anything unkind to you, you come get me." And of course, he's a wonderful guy, but
Yes,
but
yes,
everybody knows it's like mom is
yep,
always gonna be your mom, and you're
hmm,
always gonna do the right thing, and that's the way I raised them, so
and that's why they're good people.
they are good people, they're
Yes,
wonderful people, yes.
exactly. That's why you're not having to deal with anything like
No,
this.
there are no weird bottles of baby oil around. I would stake my life on that. Nothing weird, nobody's being drugged, no weird stuff happening.
That's how you know you were a good parent. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.